go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Ask Anything presented by Moser Consulting. I'm your host, Angel Leon, Moser's Director of Personnel. We're glad that you're with us for this episode of Ask Anything because today we're doing a very special 29th anniversary edition, not of Ask Anything, but of Moser Consulting. For nearly 3 decades, our company has grown, evolved, and built something truly special. And what better way to mark the occasion than by hearing from the people who make it all possible? In this episode, we'll be sitting down with employees who've been here since the early days, those who've joined along the way, and some fresh faces bringing new energy to our team. Joining me, as he always does, is producer Brian. We're going to be talking to 3 people, Greg Bell, Megan Saylor, and Chris Kim. They're going to be joining us here shortly, and we went from the longest tenured to the least tenured. Just in general, what their thoughts are from Moser since they came on to where they are now. So please stick with us and join us as we dive a little bit deeper into the knowledge of our employees. And we're going to be starting today off with Greg Bell. Greg's been with Moser for how long, Greg?
Oh gosh, started 2006.
Okay. So we're running up on 19, 20 years now.
Yeah.
My math says 19 years.
This is what I would call a long tenured employee for sure. I mean, this we should have a picture of Greg next to that long tenured employee. Yeah.
You have to be top 3 whose last name is not Moser.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty
You
close.
basically, it's Moser, Mac. Tim's been here a while. Yeah.
It's louder.
Yeah. And Chris Louder. Yeah.
Louder preceded me. Yeah. That's really about kind of it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the top 5. There we go. All right. So Greg, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. We're here, of course, talking about Moser's 29th anniversary. So you are almost at that, 19, 20 years. That's pretty much, you've been here for the whole run of Moser. So can you share a memorable moment from your early days at Moser that still makes you smile?
Well, this is kind of funny and a little odd. I was thinking about that a little bit. I remember back at our old Castleton office off 86 in Allisonville, about 2 offices ago. I was the sales and recruiting, and I kind of helped with HR. But I remember it was about 9:30 at night. I was in my office, first floor, over there by Kittle's there in Castleton.
Yeah.
And it was dark, of course, and I was doing recruiting because I wore both hats. I did sales and recruiting. So I was there at night recruiting, just making phone calls, trying to get people interested in Moser, all that. And all I remember is somebody banging on the window outside of our office. It was ground floor. And I woke up. I had a super head cold. So I think I fell asleep because I had a head cold, Sudafed, what have you. It's probably my 13th hour of the day working. And one of the colleagues down the hall was pounding on the window, woke me up, and I remember waking up, kind of drool on a desk. It was just one of those memorable moments of doing whatever it took, to get the recruiting wheels going for Moser. And then during the day, I would do the sales aspect. So it was just kind of funny. I'm like, I did fall asleep at my desk, but I was working my 13th hour with a head cold, doing the recruiting calls, and I just conked out. So that was a good time. I remember those days. And we're probably, 14 employees strong back then. I was smiling and dialing.
That makes sense. The double hat when you're obviously that small. It's in sales and recruiting. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. You're basically selling on both ends.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's it's definitely a trait and a quality that I really embrace, just because we do that, right?
So you mentioned how this was 2 offices ago. So let's dive into change. How has Moser evolved over the years, and what changes have you found most impactful?
Really, just the fact that we've built out a company, if you will. Back then we wore many hats. I was also HR. I had to sit in office with finance and all that. But the fact that we've built out now, I'm not wearing all these hats, but we have a recruiting team now. We have an HR team. Thank you, Angel. We also have an administration team. We also have a finance and accounting team. We used to outsource that. And then, of course, now we have business development. And so that's been the most impactful, positive change at Moser is we can focus on, I focus now on business development and sales, relationships with clients, things like that. And that's great because I can just focus on that now and be really good at it, hopefully. And back then wearing many hats, it was hard. It was stressful. Not complaining, it's just a lot of work, right? And company up. And it was fun, but you can only do that so long without really damaging your body and your mind. So it's been fantastic, the fact that I can just focus on that, If I need recruiting, we have resource request forms we send over to recruiting. We have HR challenges. I used to have to answer some HR calls. I used to have to answer some finance calls, certainly recruiting. So that's been fantastic. We have a full company, if you will, of many hundreds of employees, different departments and all that. So that's been the most impactful and positive that I've seen.
How would you describe the culture at Moser and what makes it special to you?
I think it's pretty simple. I think most people agree it's a family atmosphere. Even though we're a few hundred strong now, we're a full-size company, but we still feel like a family, if you will. And a lot of the vice presidents I've worked with for 10 plus years. We've got some folks, like you mentioned, been here almost 20 years, and it feels like family. We work with some of the larger companies in the world, and their processes, just by the nature of the size, it just takes a long time. What's kind of cool at Moser is we can pivot and do things quickly. I think we turn around our contracts and items like that, very expeditiously, and really surprise our clients how quickly we can operate. And but yet we still have the nimbleness, but also the full size capabilities now with our multiple practice divisions, as well as the other departments that I mentioned on the earlier question. So,
all right, last question, Greg. So let's think back to those days when you were sales and recruiting, and think through it all the way to now.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone considering joining the Moser Consulting team?
Well, I think most importantly is it sounds kind of trite and overused, but you can be whatever you want to be here. I mean, certainly you hire into a certain role, but I've seen folks over the last 20 years, morph. And then, as you guys know, we have other products, like Brian's shirt there, we have ClearPath. These came from ideas within, the folks in the company. And we've got many other products that have evolved from our folks. So the advice is, there's a lot to do here. We got our first primary role that you're hired into, if you will. But, as you evolve and learn the folks, the family and all that, you can really do whatever creative juices you have, you can kind of morph that into our firm. We've created different practices, different departments because of people's ideas. So it's kind of neat from that standpoint. We're still, again, small and nimble, but yeah, we can do stuff and hang with the larger competitors out there. We can go head to head, toe to toe with them as well. So it's a neat environment, from that standpoint.
Yeah, I have to agree. We have the capability to be nimble because the people that we have, the people that we hire that are some of the most knowledgeable experts that you can find in our field. So I certainly agree on that. Well, Greg, it's been awesome to have you and hear from you and learn from the history of Moser from you and your time back in the day. So thank you again for joining us.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show, and have a great day. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. And with us now is Megan Saylor. Megan is sort of like our middle employee in terms of time with the company. So Megan, how long have you been with Moser now?
Just over 12 years at this point.
12 years.
Yes.
Outstanding. That's awesome. So let me ask you this then. What drew you to join Moser, and how has your journey been so far?
Well, obviously, I was drawn to Moser initially for work. The contract that I've been on for the last 12 years since I've joined with Moser is what kind of pulled me in Moser's direction in the first place. However, of course, and I would think before anybody starts employment with a company, they look into the company a little bit, kind of do the research. I was able to thankfully talk to some folks who knew Moser more in depth personally. And so they were able to give me some information about Ty and about Paula and how they like to operate the company. And all of those things were huge, I guess, points of positive for me. And the way that they seem to run the company and the benefits that were provided. And then during the entire onboarding process for me and the people that I got to work with, just in signing paperwork and things of that nature and asking questions about the company, they were so welcoming. And Ty made himself available. The owner of the company made himself available to talk to me. So that right off the bat was, a huge drawing for me.
And for those of you who don't know, Megan is actually out of our Baltimore office. So she is out on the East Coast. We're Indiana based. So obviously being in a different atmosphere, in a different place, just poses itself challenges. But the fact that you were able to make that connection right away with the owner of the company, I'm sure was very good for you in making that, that first introduction very pleasant.
Yes, absolutely. And he would, come out here and meet face to face. with groups of
Right.
us. So he definitely made every effort.
So let's talk about a project or achievement during your time here that has made you particularly proud.
There are quite a few. And as I was thinking about this over the last 12 plus years, it's almost hard to narrow some of these down. I'm going to use the one example for me personally that was a big deal for me. I'm terrified of public speaking. I'm very much an extrovert, but put me up in front of a room of
Yet
like
here you
even
are.
3 people. And I tend to get shy, turn 30 shades of red and everything else. So one of the big things for growth for me, and this happened, oh gosh, it's been 6 years or so ago. I had interviewed for one of the engagement manager positions. And right after that, they said, hey, come to Indy and join this public speaking class. I forget the exact name of the class, but they had hired somebody to come in and help all their management folks, do better at public speaking and feel confident and all these things, right? So I had just joined as an engagement manager. I flew out to Indy, I was invited to do that and join this class. And they had already started a week. So I joined a week late. So I was kind of catching up and I didn't know anybody and this was all new, but I learned so much from that class and so much just in sitting in that room with the folks who had done this for years. I mean, there were folks who have done this for 20, 30, 40 years, whether it was with Moser or somebody else before they had come to Moser, and just the amount of growth in being just able to stand up in front of those people and let them pick you apart, because that's the point, and tell you where you can improve. That was huge. And we ended up breaking up into groups and then giving a presentation to Ty and some of the other leadership folks and his advisor at the time. And so it was all these people that I felt so small in front of. I have no idea why, again, because they're the nicest group of people who are there to help you improve yourself. But that's just a me thing, right? I've got issues there. That probably gave me some of the biggest steps in terms of my ability to address a client, whether it's an email, on the phone, or face-to-face, or in giving some kind of presentation for a bid or whatever it is. Huge achievement for me on a personal level. But even more than that is having those tools that Moser offered. They flew me from Baltimore to Indy once or twice a month to be able to join in person in that class. I mean, that was at their expense for me to do that. So I'm very grateful to have had that experience. There was a lot involved with it, went over many months, but definitely an achievement for me not to be, now I only turn 20 shades of red instead of 30 shades of red when I stand up in front of people.
I'd say the class worked for you, so you're
It helped,
fine.
definitely.
Yeah, and it's great because like in that kind of situation, remote work and Zoom and whatever camera remote meeting software or program you're using, they're all great. They're all very useful. But in that specific circumstance, what's really important for you to be there in person. It's
Mhm.
public speaking, it's not remote speaking. So I mean, the expense and the investment that they made in you was quite clearly a worthy one. So we're glad you're here.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was great. I'd recommend that to anybody. So I'm very grateful that they did that.
Yeah, that sounded like an awesome experience. So let's pivot quickly to cultural. What can you say about Moser's cultural everything and what makes it special to you?
Like I was saying, I think in answering the first question, from the jump, made it very clear to me. And in coming from my previous employer, and if I think back to employers before that, even, they were very different in the way that they approached me, just onboarding, and the group of people that I was onboarding with, some of whom I've known for years. It was very like a family. And I don't say that to be cliche. I know that might sound a little bit of cliche, but they very much treated all of us, not just as professionals that they were hiring, but as people with families, with personal needs, with whatever it was. I mean, down to dietary restrictions, right? I mean, those were things from the very beginning because there were folks from Indy, Ty, and some of the onboarding, recruiting HR people that were coming out to meet with us, and we'd have lunch or something together. And even dietary things were, I mean, that was something that they asked, right? there's a lot of employers that not only don't take you out to lunch, but they also don't particularly care what kind of food you like to eat or maybe what allergies you have. Just them being interested in those details outside of just what you're going to do as an employee was a big deal. And that's continued. So something that Moser, Ty, Paula, the HR department, something that they've always made very clear and always really attempted to do is to treat everybody like family and understand that family comes first, you know, to the point where they've had to force a lot of us to take vacation. Like, you can't work 80 hours a week and not take a break. We had that conversation some years ago. You have to take vacation. There's some employers that don't care about that. They don't care about the balance. So Moser's culture for me, I guess the broad definition of that would be family first. They really do treat you like that. They care. You know, if you've got things going on or whatever, it's very easy just to go talk to your manager and have that on up the chain to tie email if it needs to be, to take a break or to make a change in your schedule or whatever it is to meet the needs of the people as if there's somebody in your family.
I'd have to agree 100% with everything you said, especially because I'm the one that pushes people to take PTO. So yes. Thank you for sharing that. That's the true story.
While I was muted and being quiet, I literally got a PTO request from somebody on my team, and it's like they're like, I feel guilty because I just need a couple hours here and there, and I'm like, what guilt? Approved.
Right.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Yes. This is one of those instances, and I don't say this lightly, where when we tell you to take PTO, we actually mean it. Like, we care. I mean, it's written in our policy where it states that you need to take a minimum of at least 80 hours per year. A lot of places only give you 80 hours a year to take as PTO. So it's a testament to the kind of people that we have as leaders here and the people, as you mentioned, Megan, that just care and want to make sure that you're taken care of first rather than, you know, everything else. That's key. All right. So before we go, obviously you said you've been here for 12 years. You were recruited, you came on. What advice would you give someone who might be considering joining the Moser Consulting team?
Well, come on in. I would say that first. I wouldn't give up the opportunity. I have said this. If I've said this to one person, I literally have probably said this to 20 or 30 people. I would hands down redo this entire last 12 years. I have said to Ty himself many times, if I can be here for another 30, I'd love to. I would love to be here and retire from Moser whenever I get the chance to do that. Ideally, if I could do that, I would. And I would say outside of, don't forgo the opportunity to be employed here with Moser. I would say, you know, look at the handbook. When they tell you, here's your benefits, take a training, use your 80 hours of PTO, you must. You know, whatever it is, you've got your team manager, Ty's open door policy, whatever number of things it is that are either, you know, a benefit or just that sort of family culture that's offered here. The lunches, come in, have lunch, talk face to face. You know, a lot's changed since COVID, but come join the lunch, come talk to your coworkers, come see Ty, come see Paula, whatever it is, whether they're in Indy or they fly into Baltimore to see folks, because they do that every month. Take advantage of all those things. There are so many employers that don't offer you to take a course. They don't offer to fly you to headquarters if you need to for a meeting or to meet with folks. They don't offer you the flexibility in the PTO. They don't offer a lot of those things. And Moser offers all of that, plus that sort of family tie and the family operation of the whole thing. So again, I would recommend Moser to anybody. In fact, I have. And luckily that's worked out for some folks, and they're very, very happy with being here. And so I would really, Moser is a stellar place to work. I mean, it really is. And I say that not just because I'm on here having this conversation, but like I said a second ago, I have said that to my family, to my friends. I could not be any more blessed than to have had the opportunity to be employed here. And if I can do it till the day I retire, that's my goal.
And with that, we'd like to thank Megan Saylor for joining us today. Those were wonderful words, Megan. Thank you very much. And you only turned 18 shades of red. Don't worry,
Thank
you're
you.
fine. Yeah.
18, I'm down one.
We can't let you go until we get the last two. It's in the
Yeah.
contract. Now, I will say real quick on like minimum 80 hours of PTO a year. Like if I saw somebody on my team at the end of the year who had only taken 80 hours, one of the things I would talk to them about for the upcoming year would be like, and it's one of the only instances I could imagine myself channeling the movie Office Space. Like, look, you took the bare minimum. How do you feel about someone who's taking the bare minimum of PTO? Take more time.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do with it. Go read a book, a new hobby, hike, whatever you want. But if you're only taking 80 hours because that's the minimum that's the minimum
Mhm.
that they require you take, then I would encourage anybody to find some other avenues to take more than that. So, I mean,
Yep.
some people are programmed to, I want to work and I want to be at the office and I want to do that. And if that's how you fulfill yourself and that's how you relax, cool. But like you said earlier, that time to take and recharge is so valuable. And I'm really glad that they give us the opportunity to do that.
And with us now is Chris Kim, and Chris is our youngest, no pun intended, employee. He's not our youngest. I'm
Least
going to say that. Least
tenured,
tenured
least
employee.
tenured.
Yeah, that sounds better. Chris, how long have you been with us now?
So it'll be 2 years in
Okay.
May. Yeah.
Yeah, and Chris, I have to personally say, Chris has been a breath of fresh air for Moser when it comes to what he does within the core tech services team. He's been phenomenal to work with, and he's worked with the HR department on a couple things. So I certainly appreciate all of your help, and it's been good to see you interact with not just me but my team and the new employees that we bring in, and that's been phenomenal. But you've moved on. You've actually already have started to move up along the organization, which is great. Let's talk about those first impressions. What were your first impressions of Moser, and how have they changed since you joined?
Before Moser, I never worked like a private sector job, so my expectations on that were a little bit different. Like right out of college, I worked like local government level as a police officer. So things were
Mm,
already way different. You know, I had an
yes.
office and a car versus having an actual office in an office space. So that was really cool. Everything was super modern. People were friendly. You could tell a lot of people here were and are very passionate about what they do. And
Mhm.
so that's really contagious. And yeah, I was just excited to start a new career path here at Moser.
Yeah, that's from somebody who came from a law enforcement background too to Moser. It's eerily similar in what you were explaining. I had almost 16 years of a career in a federal law enforcement entity, so I can see what you're saying and definitely understand where you're coming from. What right now excites you the most about the future of Moser and your role in it? Because as I mentioned, you've moved up quite, you're currently a different step than when you came into Moser.
I'm excited about the future for one. Obviously, the new recent promotion that I just got, it's sort of a new department that we're building out in Core Tech, the security team. So I started out on the DFR project, government side, contract, answering phones and things of that nature. Then I moved over to private sector of Moser and Core Tech managed services as a help desk technician. And then, yeah, obviously recently got into this role. I'm super excited. One, the amount of opportunities Moser has, it seems endless. I mean, if you're motivated, passionate, and committed to working hard, learning, and constantly growing on an individual level, Moser's willing to provide you the steps and the doorways to be able to pursue whatever you want to. So even in this new position, it's different, it's new, it's exciting, and I'm just excited to work with the new team that I've got and be able to contribute to the company and creating more opportunities overall.
How would you describe our culture here at Moser, and what makes it special to you?
It's really like family oriented, I would say. That's something that I've noticed. I mean, obviously, work is work, it's a company, but it's lax and welcoming in the sense that it's more like a family than just going to work, clocking in, 40 hours a week, whatever.
Right.
People are super open. I love the open door policy. You can talk to anyone, and people are willing to one just talk to you, give you advice, or like help you in an area that you might not be comfortable with. Yeah, I've never had an issue where I'm like, man, I don't know if I can ask this question, or I'm interested in this area, but it seems walled off, or like information silos, they're just cut off from everybody
Yeah.
else. Everything's super open. I love that. Yeah, it seems like everyone's willing to help each other, and I'm all about it.
That's something that I feel like even when I joined, coming from where I came, where, and I'm sure you had the same experience, where in law enforcement everything is so closed off, and it's like, the old saying, there's a need to know environment here, so I'm sorry,
Sure.
I can't share it with you. I faced that a lot, and I'm sure you did too, but here it's much more transparent, I feel, and so I certainly appreciate that a whole lot more now, because you can definitely see, like you were saying, a lot of people are open to just talking and listening. Sometimes a good listener is a good way to just connect with somebody, and so I think that's a positive that we have. But before we let you go, I want to get your thoughts on, what would you say to someone who would consider joining Moser and the team? And I say that knowing that you've already done this, that you've already brought some friends. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I love the company, and immediately I was like, man, I got to get more people in here, because I know a lot of talented people, some young, fresh minds that are motivated as well. So I would say, one, it's a really fast moving environment. It's comfortable, you can go at your own pace, but Moser really does like fast learners and people that can learn on their own as well. And so definitely come in with an open mind that it may not, at least my experience, because I was working in different departments. It's not like cut and dry. Here's step 1 through 10, and this is what you need to do. Whatever. It's pretty open in the sense that here's what you need to do. There's a million ways to get there. Ask if you need some help. And I was like, here's a laptop, and here you go. I was like, oh my gosh, okay. There's not a process or like videos that I got to go through. It's like, okay, I got to learn this on my own, but all the resources are there. People are there to help you. So as long as you come in motivated, and you're willing to learn, it's a great environment. But yeah, definitely try to be open-minded about that kind of stuff.
I would agree with that. I think it's an excellent environment for highly motivated people. We have common goals. We have projects that we're all working on, but like a lot of times you are free to chart your own course to success. So
Yeah.
if you're based on the type of learner you are, based on the type of leader you are, based on the type of follower you are free to chart your course at Moser, within certain guidelines. But it's a very free environment as far as I have found. And if you come in, you're motivated, you're willing to learn, you're willing to pitch in. That's one of the things I've appreciated about Christopher. Sometimes the marketing department, we just roam around the office with a camera and a microphone, and we're talking to people. And he's jumped in and helped us with projects. We were asking for guests for the podcast episode, willing to join us. Willing to jump in, willing to pitch in. That's always appreciated.
Thanks.
Yeah, with that, Chris, it's been awesome to have you with us on Ask Anything. So thank you for joining us and sharing your experience.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation with our 3 tenured employees here at Moser, celebrating Moser Consulting's 29th anniversary. Join us next time when we dive even deeper with our resident experts and what they're currently working on. Remember to share your ideas or topics with us through social media. In the meantime, please remember to give us a rating and subscribe to our feed wherever you get your podcasts. Until then, happy 29th, Moser. So long, everybody. Brian and I were talking about that before we start recording, about how, compared to Greg and Megan, we're sort of like young ones here. We're younglings in the Star Wars world. So it's fine as long as Anakin doesn't walk through the door, but we're going to be fine.
What's the red one for, Master Ed? Oh,
Yeah.